Okay. We will continue regarding letter of credit, and in previous class we have studied the characteristic of letter of credit, right? And this time we will study that the you know the drawback of a letter of credit. Okay. And what is the advantage and disadvantage of letter of credit? And especially, we will learn the limitations of letter of credit trading. Okay, so the first thing we can say that the letter of credit has a drawback that the import cannot make sure of whether the export discharge the right, the right product he ordered. Okay, so number one drawback. Okay, drawback of letter of credit import cannot make sure of right product discharging. Okay, right product discharging. Okay, because of the characteristic of a letter of credit is abstract. The meaning of abstract we have previous studied that the abstract meaning that if the document meet requirement, if document submitted, if the document submitted meet requirement 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 of letter of credit, the bank have a obligation to negotiate to the compiling document. Okay, so because of the characteristic of this abstract clause, this is a characteristic of a RC characteristic, right? Okay, because of this clause, okay, because of this clause, the bank, the negotiation bank should negotiate, meaning that the should purchase the document submitted by export. Okay, so the bank has no obligations to check whether the product loaded is right. or not. Okay? The bank do not care about this. This is the characteristic of LC called abstract, right? So this is a part, this can be a part of drawback. Okay, this is drawback. Okay, absolutely, obviously we have the method to prevent this kind of fraud. This is a sort of fraud, right? This is to cheating, right? Cheating, right? Cheating, this is fraud. Okay, to conceive the import, loading different product, okay, agreemented, right, contracted. But if import agree to accept surveyor's certificate, right, certificate, the certificate meaning that the surveyor in the port, checking whether the product is right or not, then the surveyor can issue the certificate to prove that the product is right to the contract items. Okay, but in this case, this is also disadvantage to import. So to agree to assign, surveyor to check it out, the product, whether it's the right product or not, is not easy to reach the agreement. Okay, so the import is very, the export is very cautious to hire and to agree that the surveyor certificate should be submitted to negotiate. Usually, this clause, hiring surveyor, is not frequently accepted. Okay, but this way to add certificate of surveyor prior to negotiation is one way to prevent from frauding, okay, cheating like this. But anyway, the document, okay, the import cannot make sure of right product is discharging or not. So this is one drawback. Okay, so we have to know the drawback of letter of credit. Okay, once we use the method of letter of credit. Okay, so this is one of the limitations once we use the letter of credit. This is disadvantage using letter of credit. Okay, meaning that again, the import cannot make sure of whether the product loaded is actually identical to the contract items. Okay. So the export can cheat, right? Cheat the items because the bank have no obligations to make sure of whether the right product is loaded or not. Actually, bank will negotiate with the document required by the import. Okay, they have no obligations going out to check whether the product loaded is the right one or not to the contract, content. Okay, so once the document meet to the requirement of letter of credit, bank should bank should pay, bank should negotiate document of export. So in this case, the import has no method to prevent this cheating. So this is very important one drawback, okay? But we have in this case the another reference say that the importer has the fraud. Importer can you know uh, prefer and protect his right by using fraud rules. Okay, what is the fraud rules then? Let me talk to that. The fraud rules meaning that meaning that the opening bank or applicant can prove that the document was make up. The document is counterfeit. Then they can reject payment. They can reject the payment. Okay. This is the one. This depends way to the fraud of import. I'm sorry, fraud of export. Okay, this is one measurement to depend of fraud exporting, right? Fraud exporting, but in this case, the proof should be very clear and objective. Okay, clear and objective. It should be very clear evidence. It should be very clear evidence. Okay, then the bank can reject payment to the export negotiations. Okay, this is exception of the principle of abstract. This is exception. I mean, the fraud law is one method, one measurement. Okay, two depends. What measurement? Two depends. Export fraud. What is the export fraud? Export fraud meaning that export discharge different items or even empty container. Okay? Different items. Different items agreed in contract. Okay, different items agreed in contract or pretend to load or pretend to load empty items to load as an empty container. Okay, in this case, all this case belong to fraud, cheating, right? Fraud, cheating. Okay, in this case, bank negotiation bank, the the opening bank can reject payment. But in this case, the proof that the shipment is fraud or cheating should be very clear. Should be proof should be very clear. Okay? But ghost, not to hurt the credit of a bank in the letter of credit system. Okay? If this fraud rule is frequently accepted, the whole system for the letter of credit will be spoiled. Okay, so not too hot. The system of letter of credit okay, not too hot. The credit of a bank fraud system is allowed in limited conditions. Okay, this is allowed in limited conditions. Okay, the proof should be accurate and clear. The proof that discharging is fraud, is it right? The proof that shipment is fraud. This proof should be very, very accurate. This proof should be very accurate. Should be accurate, okay? Understand this? Okay. So we have discussed that letter of credit is a drawback, and one drawback is that import cannot make sure of exporter's loading is right. Okay, exporter's loading is right, meaning that export load dot the accurate product agreed in contract. He cannot, the import cannot make sure of this one. This is one drawback, but we have several ways to prevent this one. The number one method is to hire surveyor. Okay, the surveyor can inspect prior to shipment that whether the items loaded by export is the proof items, the accurate items that agreed in the contract. Okay, but in this case, I told you this hiring or admitting the surveyor to inspect exporters' items loaded is sometimes making conflict because the surveyor can make problem of that. In this case, the expert will be spoiled to negotiate. Okay, so experts usually do not want to agree this clause that the surveyor certificates, meaning that once the surveyor agreed that the item is identical, then he can issue the certificate. With this certificate, experts should negotiate. But in these conditions, it is sometimes disadvantages because surveyor can make a different opinion against the product, okay, against the expert. So the expert do not want this kind of a contract. So the number two option is importers insist that this is fraud. Okay, this means that this kind of insist and depends method is called fraud rules. The fraud rules means that once the bank, the opening bank or applicant, the import, when they can present clear proof that export make an fraud for the product discharges, if this proof is clear, then the opening bank can reject payment. But in this case, this fraud rules is accepted very limited conditions. Okay, because letter of credit system is operate on the basis of credit of payment by the bank. Okay, if this fraud rules is frequently accepted, the position of expert will be unstable. So the letter of credit system will not go well. Okay, so this protection system, fraud rules is allowed within a very limited conditions. Understand that? Okay, this must be very actual, okay, and then reasonable, because we have to protect whom? The export, okay, export, but because export is willing to agreeing letter of credit method because he is make sure of, he has the confidence of the bank will pay full payment. Okay, once export discharge the product, he can get paid as soon as, okay, he discharged the payment. Okay, so this is one advantage I told you regarding this one. Okay, and then second drawback is the contrary to the first case. Even the expert implement his duty, but import on purpose do different. Okay, okay, in this case, if you give you the explanations, in this case is very contrary case. Okay, This is quite contrary case. This is a contrary case, meaning that in this case, contrary to the prior case, the expert does good job. But sincerely, but import does misdoing. Sorry, I'll alterate this one. Misdoing. Oh, sorry, I made it different. Misdoing. Okay. In this case, contrary, the import misuse. Okay, misuse the letter of credit method. Okay, letter of credit method. In this case, discrepancy. Okay, discrepancy meaning that the document required do not meet accurately. Okay, discrepancy means the document submitted documents submitted by expert do not meet requirement of LC. Okay, in this case, we call the discrepancy, not insistency. Okay, not insistency. In this case, even discrepancy is very trivial things. Okay, very trivial things. Trivial things, even as trivial things. Import make excuse of that, then reject payment or discount in this case. Okay, in this case, this is one disadvantage and drawback of letter of credit system. Okay, this is contrary to previous case. In previous case, the cheating or frauding of export, but the second case is done by import. Contrary. Okay. In this case, by the excuse of discrepancy, I told you the discrepancy means that the document required by import do not submitted properly, accurately. Okay. In this case, import can reject the payment even that discrepancy is very trivial. Okay. Or requesting discount or pricings. This is drawback using letter of credit. Okay. Because the letter of credit system require the negotiations. The negotiation means that the negotiation bank and the expert should exchange document and payment. Okay. In this case, the document required by letter of credit should be accurate to that requirement. If not accurate, we call that as a discrepancy. Even a small, even a trivial discrepancy, import can make an excuse of that discrepancy and can reject payment. This is one drawback of a letter of credit. Okay, so we have to keep in mind of this kind of discrepancy. Okay. Also, we have uh, another discrepancy, another drawback. I'm sorry, another drawback is that some expressions should be very cautious. Okay, cautious, because owing to this, if this kind of expressions, once this is overlooked, you might have a big problem in negotiations. Okay, the expert might have a big problem in negotiation. Once the expert overlook some expressions expressed in letter of credit. Okay, so we have to be very cautious of this one. Okay, we can make an excuse of this one, but we will give you some example. Okay, for instance, the expression we have to cautious, and the expert should request the amend of expressions. Okay, not to make a bigger contribution later on negotiation. Okay, once you receive the letter of credit, I mean the U means that the import or not import, export. Export should be careful, extra careful for the expression, for the paces. Okay, because some expressions is big risky. Okay, so you have to be very cautious regarding trapezies. Sorry. I'm sorry. Trapezies. Okay, what is trapezies? This paces is usually done by import. Import sometimes tend to insert, trap, paste. Okay, because to prepare the conditions, the status when ordering and delivering situation different. Okay, meaning that in this case, for example, the import often RC, and when import, paying RC. Okay, this difference, time difference. Okay, time difference condition can be changed. Okay, meaning that the import proceed contract is a customer, but condition can be changed as time goes on. When product is a shipment, right? And then the import should pay the product. There is difference time, and within a difference, condition can be changed. In this case, import tend to insert the trap phase, okay, to avoid contract. Meaning that to make the contract cancel, okay, to make the contract cancel in this case. Okay, I will give you some example of this trap expressions, trap phase. Okay. For example, bill of lading showing ships load and count not accepted. This page should be very cautious. Bill of lading, BL. We generally call this this is BL. Okay, this BL showing shipped load, showing ships load. Okay, showing shipped load and count not accepted. Okay, this page meaning that okay, the LC, in the LC, when the cargo is loaded by ships and counted, okay, we call this one is unknown clause, okay, is not accepted. What is the meaning of this one? The bill of lading showing ships load and count not accepted, meaning that only shipping companies loading and counting is accepted. Okay, this is very risky expression because in reality, no shipping company is loading and counting of exporter's cargo. Okay, we called this one is unknown clause. Meaning that the cargo to be shipped to the certain vessel is not handled by shipping companies. The shipping company do not pay attention or do not want to be responsible for the cargo loaded and counted. Okay? So they express on the bill of lading unknown clause, meaning that all the cargo and counting is done by export. So shipping company has no obligation, has no responsibility for the cargo. This is expressed in the letter of bill of lading. Okay? But according to these expressions submitted by the import, this unknown clause BL is not accepted. Then this is big risky because most of shipping company expressed these expressions unknown clause, meaning that to the contrary of this clause, okay, this clause, the cargo is shipped by shipped load and count. Then these expressions is obviously reject these expressions. So it is very, very difficult for the export to avoid this kind of expressions. Okay? So in this case, if you detect this kind of expressions requested by import, this should be very cautious because in reality, most of shipping company want or expressed shifts, export should do for themselves shipping the cargo and counting. And they declare, the shipping company declare, they have no obligations and they have no responsibility for the cargo. Okay? So this request is contrary object to shipping company's policy. So once you receive this kind of expression by import, this should be amended. Okay? If not amended, on the point of negotiation, you will be big trouble with the bank. Okay? This is the expressions. Except this, you might have lots of trap cases to avoid to make sure whether the contract, the letter of credit submitted is easier or not. Okay? That is the first thing you have to check it out. Okay? Before you be very happy with accepting letter of credit. Okay?